Y'all know I gotta check and make sure I am good. Let's see. Got the headphones on today. I gotta go back to the headphones.
Got the headphones on.
Oh yeah, I'm perfect. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the All Things Life and Sports show with Kylan Thomas. That's me. I'm your host, Kylan Thomas. It's been a little minute since I came on here and talked sports. As y'all can see, I've had my mom, her mastery, um, her podcast. We've been on her show under my network. We've been on here going. But let's. I need to get back into talking about these teams. I want to have all 32 done by training camps. So let's get into the Bengals. The Bengals are gonna bungle, and they came right on time on the AFC North third. For some reason, I knew to go ahead and do all them other teams and save them for now because it's all coming to a head for the Cincinnati Bengals. It's coming to a head. This is why I say I wish I could have had fans of teams on here because I would have loved. I'm seeing what they be talking about. I did a video earlier during the season about if I'm Joe Burrow. I feel sorry for y'all Bengals fans. I feel sorry for Joe Burrow. If I'm Joe Burrow at this point, I would want out. But let's get into the Bengals off season. We're gonna get into Trey Henderson. We're gonna get into Shamar Stewart. But I said we're gonna dive into the whole off season. So to first start, we're gonna get into training them a little later. But to first start, you fired your DC Lou Anarumo. That had to be done. That Bengals defense was horrible. They're losing games in which the 1 point loss to the Chiefs. They let Mahomes get the third and 18. Joe and them putting up 38, 33, 20 set, like high scoring offense. Joe had the most passing yards in the NFL. A slick MVP candidate, especially had he gotten them to the playoffs with that last run. And they're still losing those games. The points I just gave you, they're still somehow losing those games. So they had to fire DC Lou and Arumo. That defense was ranked, according to Fox, 25th in total D. They allowed 348 yards a game, 30th in red zone D. 67.9% of the time teams got into the end zone against that Bengals defense. So like I just again gonna get into training them a little later, but you fire your DC, and this Bengals defense, with some may are arguing, well, they were horrible with Trey Hendrickson. Bruh, Trey one person. You take Trey out, y'all are definitely gonna be sorry. But they fired him and then hired the Notre Dame most recent DC for the last 3 years, Al Golden. Notre Dame, they were kind of up under the radar. They had that loss early in the season to NIU. But that defense is stout, man. That defense is solid. They were third in scoring D, ranked second in points per game allowed. They only allowed 14.3 points per game. They were in the national championship. Again, not many of us picked Notre Dame to be in the national. I didn't. I'm going to say I didn't. And I know a lot of people out there who didn't. But we ain't picked Notre Dame to be in the national championship game. And that defense was a big testament. They are physical. The motherfuckers physical, hard-nosed, aggressive, going to come at you. Al Golden has those guys prepared, developing those young guys, developing the young talent. So you go, and he was previously the Bengals linebackers coach, I believe 2022, I think I saw a couple years ago. So he's coming back as the new DC. Now, that Bengals defense is young, okay? I believe them going out and hiring Al, as I stated, he's a guy that's attention to detail, gonna prepare. That helps with developing. And you need someone like that to help develop that young defense that you have, those young players, that young core that you have. The guys like Miles Murphy, I think Osai, if I'm saying it, Joseph Osai, something like that. You need those guys to develop and come along. Your back end, the safety, the corner, all them. That's who you need. Allen's who you need. And I want to play this. Jack Kaiser, former Notre Dame linebacker. Jaguars just drafted him. I want to play him talking about DC Al, Coach Al, and kind of how he had him prepared, and this is somebody the Bengals need. Now y'all not gotta make sure we good.
The best assistant coach in the country.
Now y'all not gotta make sure we good. Now y'all not gotta make sure. Now y'all not gotta make sure we good.
The best assistant coach in the country.
All right. They get it. They play this. They play.
And so I was able to talk to him, just congratulate him, tell him how much he meant to the defense and to me personally. And then seeing him down here, right? You know, we're walking to and from the stadium, seeing each other. And I'm like, Coach, you need to interview me? You pull me aside? You want me to go up on the board or anything? And he's laughing. He's like, nah, we got all our answers on you. We're good. But it's just really cool to see him kind of get that, you know, chance as a DC in the NFL. That's really special.
What is Cincinnati getting in him as a defensive coordinator?
Yeah, I think first off, it's a guy that's going to work and out-prepare anybody. He knows ball and he knows how to prep guys around him, right? Like we never went into a game feeling that we weren't prepared. And I think that's an edge that we had on defense. But then he's such a cerebral guy, able to understand what the moment is and what's needed in the moment and how to adjust, right? So that's just something he's so good at. And then he's just a great leader, right? Like he's able to, like he never gets too high, never gets, you know, too fired up on the sideline. He's able to keep that cool, calm, collected mentality and be able to talk to players and have that relationship to make you play better.
So that was former Notre Dame linebacker who Al was just a DC of Notre Dame. Again, I'm going to mention Jaguars. We got Jack Kaiser, by the way. He's shining. He's balling in Kent right now. So that just goes to show Al is a great, like you said, a leader. He's going to teach you the game of football. He's going to teach you how to be a better defensive player, along with being physical, aggressive, and help you with that mental part of the game. And that's who the Bengals have went out and hired. I like that hire for the Bengals, just as long as he can get everybody in there. And then to pair with that, they then hired Sean Desai. He's a senior defensive assistant, just held that position with the Rams this past season. We saw what that Rams defense did. I mean, they struggled a little bit. They had their struggle, especially on the back end. That line was kind of always, but they started roaring. They were roaring. They were the closest team to beating the Eagles. So Sean Desai, you pair somebody like him with some NFL coaching experience, veteran, along with a new DC in the NFL and Al Golden. So the Bengals seems as though they're trying to get that defensive side of the ball better, but you're not getting the players together. But and then let's see. And just a kind of little, like a little smaller move, they released guard Alex Kappa. According to PFF, we know how some of y'all feel about PFF. He wasn't good this past season. He's older, so they decided to go ahead and release him, freeing up that cap space. Now, they then at one point in the offseason, they franchised T. Higgins. They did it last year, did it again this year. But then they ended up that whole talk of, do you pay a guy like T. Higgins? Is he, 1B to Jamar Chase's 1A? Number 2, is he a guy that you should pay? Knowing Trey still need his deal. Like Joe Burrow just signed his contract. Jamar Chase just signed his contract. My order of importance, I will go my quarterback, my premier D lineman, my number 1 wide receiver. I'm not signing my number 2 wide receiver before I lock in my premier defensive lineman who should have won Defensive Player of the Year or was in the running to win Defensive Player of the Year. That's just me. That's how I will operate. Clearly, the Bengals don't operate like that. Shamar said the same thing. We're going to play that. But after all that saga, Joe Burrow vouching for him, and might I add, he's also vouched for Trey. But after all that, they then still decide to go ahead and pay him. And I believe that pressure from Joe and them kind of got him going to go ahead and get that deal going. But I want to play this real quick because I missed this. But we're gonna play it really quickly. And this is on New DC Algo and talking about developing those young guys, that defense. Because it all's kind of tied together. It all tied together. But let's play this real quick.
I think development is at the core of everything that we do on defense, and making sure that we're great at ball disruption. We're awesome at tackling, and that we understand the situations, and then once the guys understand that this is what we want, how do we refine it and quality control it and get better, and ultimately to empower means to give them the culture so that they're handing it down to the next group. Or if the veterans come in and they're learning it now, we draft some guys or bring some guys in that they can manage it in the locker room, and that's how it catches fire. And so I think if we're going to be young, that's great, but it doesn't mean we can't execute at a really, really high level. And there are no excuses at this level, and certainly we're on the clock, and we got to get to work.
As you know from your previous.
So really quickly, just had to put that in there, throw that in there. I missed that. But so kind of back to T and Jamar. Yeah, y'all go ahead and sign T. Higgins. Now I want to play this. This is Joe Burrow kind of putting pressure on the organization with the T. Higgins contract.
For one, we started this whole thing together. We came in together, and we've built this thing from the ground up. And you don't want to make a habit of letting great players get out of the building. Just like I said earlier in the week, T's a great player and a guy that does everything the right way and works really hard for it. When you have a guy like that, you just can't let him get out of the building. He's a one-of-a-kind person, one-of-a-kind player, and one that we really count on and is an integral part of what we do around here. So
that was Joe Burrow talking about kind of pushing that Bengals front office, Duke Tobin and them, to get the T. Higgins deal done. Now, again, of course, he's the quarterback. He just finished first in yards thrown for the whole season. The first quarterback had the most yards thrown. Of course, he's going to want Chase back. Of course, he's going to want Higgins back. They even signed Gesicki, the tight end, Old Faithful, as I call it. They even just signed him. Of course, he's going to want all those guys back. But again, Bengals, it's on y'all as a front office to do order of importance. I would have got Chase and Trey done before T. Higgins. So then they signed him to a 4-year, $115 million deal. And now I kind of just want to play T himself talking about he grew up a Bengals fan. Chad Ocho was his favorite player, and kind of just what signing that deal means to him.
Grew up a Bengals fan, and to have the opportunity to sign a 4-year deal with my favorite team that I grew up watching is, that's a dream come true. You know what I mean? And then, once I guess the announcement was out, my favorite player I grew up watching congratulating me on that it's even more crazy. So I couldn't be at a better place.
So that was T kind of on signing that deal. So they keep that top 10 offense intact. Again, the offense is not the Bengals' problem. They were top 10 in offense. Then you lock down Jamar Chase as well. Let me see. You lock down Jamar Chase. He just became the highest non-quarterback pay in NFL history, coming off the league triple crown. That's when you lead the league in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns. He had 127 receptions, 1,708 receiving yards, and 17 touchdowns. Becomes the sixth receiver in NFL Super Bowl era to have completed that, and also led the league in average receiving yards per game. Now, his contract is warranted. He signed 4 years, $161 million deal, 109 in total guarantees, with an average of $40.20 million per year. So T's is about, I think, about, if you want to round, about $30 million per year. Chase about $40 million per year. So there you go. You're 1A, 1B. As he stated, Chase and they interviewed together, 1B. Here is Jamar Chase on signing his contract, and kind of where do we go from here? Because the question was asked, and kind of what I'm coming at too is, yeah, you can sign. Offense is going to be great. Offense was not the problem. But if y'all don't shore up that defense, y'all just dished out all this money to the offensive side of the box. Two wide receivers, y'all just dished out this money to. Y'all ain't even make the playoffs last year. And then you decide to sign T. Higgins, who, now granted, he had some injuries. He still had 73 receptions, 911 yards, 10 touchdowns, had the catch against the Denver Broncos that kind of kept them in the playoff hopes, kept the playoff hopes alive. I believe towards the end of the season. Then nobody want to see the Bengals, but I'm just let Chase talk about it. Here's him talking about getting back to the Super Bowl, because that's what all of this is about. And I just, right now, as it's presently constructed, I just don't see how they're going to do that when the defense just seems all out of whack.
Yeah, man, it's possible. We did it already. We know what it smells like. We did it when we didn't even think we was gonna be there. If I'm being honest. So, we know what it takes to get there. We gotta start off faster. Not even just start off faster, just be ready for anything. Not saying defensive side, but offensive side too. We gotta be ready for anything, adjust to anything, and as pros now, we gotta really be ready for anything.
Jamar, when you were drafted.
So that's Jamar talking about getting back to the Super Bowl. Y'all see how he threw that shot in there about the defense. And then here's also him on wanting to sign with T. Higgins, still being there, and kind of how Higgins helps him out on the field and their relationship. And let's see.
Yeah, for me, yeah, just because I know, I really was not trying to let T go. For me, I don't know about Joe, but it's hard when you out there and T not out there. You know what I'm saying? It's not easy at all. So T out there it makes my job easier. I make his job easier. We make the running back's job easier. So the whole game slows down for me. It gets easier for some people. So he's just a big help.
Do you think you guys are going to be together for the rest of your careers?
We're going to be together for the next 4 or 5 years.
Do you see?
So that was Jamar Chase as well, himself acknowledging how T. Higgins has, which we all know, when you just got that one receiver, teams can cloud and put a lot of coverage on that guy, and you got to beat me with the rest of these guys, which Higgins has shown he can do. But that's where all the talk was. Y'all want to pay a guy who, if he had to leave Jamar, could he go and be the number one receiver? And y'all still decide to pay him 4 years, $115 million. Now you got two guys going into 2025. They have two wide receivers in the top 10. We look at the top 10 NFL wide receiver contracts. The Bengals got two guys in that top 10. And y'all ain't made the playoff. Y'all ain't even made the playoff. Henderson still ain't signed. Your rookie that you drafted to possibly replace Trey Henderson and Samar Stewart, still not signed. Just to do a little housekeeping, they re-signed tight end Mike Gesicki to a 3-year contract, $25.5 million, $12 million guaranteed. again, got some bonuses in there. I like that signing as well. He's old faithful, chain mover, old reliable, whatever you want to call him. Played in all 17 games, 65 catches, 665 yards, 2 touchdowns. This past season was the second best receiving season of his career. But my thing is, Higgins did have some injuries, I believe, towards the beginning of the season. So when you got Chase out there, Higgins out there, Gesicki out there, I don't get going ahead and giving him a contract either before trade, but Bengals gonna bungle. They also signed running back Samaje Perine to a 2-year contract. D lineman TJ Slayton to a two-year deal. According to PFF, they had a 43 grade for him. He was not good this past season. They also signed linebacker Oren Burks to a 2-year deal and re-signed defensive tackle BJ Hill to a 3-year contract. D lineman Cam Sample to a 1-year contract. Now, BJ Hill, I like that. I like that signing. Sure, the inside of that line, he was pretty decent. Again, get some help. You need somebody. BJ, Trey, Shamar. That's how it should be. That's how it should be. But again, they also signed Joseph, defensive end Joseph assigned linebacker Joe Giles or Giles, however you pronounce it, Harris. Now, on to what I was ready to come on here and talk about. The Cincinnati Bengals, Duke Tobin, still has not signed Trey Hendrickson to a long-term deal. I just read off guys that have signed contracts. They've given them permission to seek a trade. If I'm Trey, which he's pissed, now you got the head coach with the mandatory mini camp and stuff. Oh, if you're not here, you're going to be fined. And it's getting personal. It's getting messy when it didn't need to be. Again, you pay your quarterback, your number one premier defensive end, your defensive player, defensive end, and your running number one wide receiver. That's it. That's it. How does Higgins, Gesicki, BJ Hill, Slayton, how do all these guys get new contracts, extensions, and Trey Hendrickson is still not signed? Back-to-back years, 17 and a half sacks. Could have been Defensive Player of the Year about 2 years ago. Led the league in sacks. And nobody's on the other side of him, and he's still producing. And y'all pay Chase and Higgins. Here's Joe Burrow on getting a deal done with Trey Hendrickson. Where's it at? Here we go. Bengals gonna bungle.
And we need our young guys. Like you said, we need Trey back. We need to give him what he's worth and what he deserves. He's earned that. And we need our young guys to come on. We need to draft well. We need guys to come in and produce immediately. Yes. We don't have time to wait around. Right. And I think we have the young guys that are capable of going into an offseason, training the way that they need to, taking advantage of all the opportunities that they can, and come out and play well early.
I have to confess, I'm very worried about you with what you're saying. We got to keep Jamar Chase. We got to keep T. Higgins. We got to keep Trey Hendrickson. You got to keep a whole bunch. This is Cincinnati now. I mean, this is that ownership. You confident that they're going to be willing to keep all of those guys?
The cap is going up each year. We just got new TV deals, so the cap is going to continue to go up.
TV money. Yep.
And we all want to stay together, so we're all going to do what it takes to do that. And we have great players that have done great things and deserve to be paid. They're going to be paid what they're worth, whether we do it or somebody else. I hope we do it. I think, we've had the discussions that the guys are going to get paid that need to get paid. And
So that was Joe Burrow also talking about we need to pay Trey Hendrickson. And that's why I said I'll save Joe Burrow for a little later when he was out there campaigning for T and campaigning for – I'm like, Joe, this is Cincinnati Bengals. They already a cheap organization. We shocked they went on paid T. they put their money in the wrong place, I'm going to sign the guy that just had 2 back-to-back seasons with 17.5 sacks, the defensive player of the year, ain't missed no game. I'm going to sign him before my number 2. But, Joe, I mean, how they going to keep all y'all? I mean, shit, y'all 3 and who else? I get the cap going up and da-da-da-da, but damn, y'all got to have a supporting cast. But that goes into, especially defensively, that goes into what we was talking about with Al developing the young guys. He got to be able to develop, because when you go putting out all that money, y'all got to build through the draft. Free agency, you probably got to hit a little bit in free agency, but they're cheap. But here's Trey, and like I was saying, he wants long-term security. This shouldn't even be a conversation. This should not be a conversation. But here's Trey on just really wanting long-term security. Why we can't get a deal done?
How far are you willing to take this contract thing?
Wow. Ideally it doesn't get to that, because I really don't want to be a distraction for the team. We've had multiple good conversations. It's just actions speak louder than words, and that's how I play my game as well, even though I am a trash talker. So hopefully it's something. I love Cincinnati. My wife got her residency at the VA hospital there. My son was born there. I've had my most productive years in the National Football League there. They've given me a tremendous opportunity to represent them at the Pro Bowl and now an All-Pro. I love it. I love it there. I love the coaching staffs that I've made relationships with, whether they're in the building or not. And, moving forward, I would like to remain a Bengal. It's just some things in life, like long-term security, being able to tell my wife where we're going to raise our son, and not have to worry about playing a violent sport and shifting of where we're going. That would be ideal. But, again, I want to help them win a Super Bowl, and however that looks, if they have plans to move me or keep me, that's up to them.
Yeah, that's a
So that was Trey Henderson on just wanting long-term security. Pretty much just get a deal done. And we all talk about, oh, we're not pocket watching, guys we don't talk about what they say. They don't talk about people, kids, wives, money in the locker room. These guys watching these contracts. Let's be for real. As much hell, Chase himself. Oh, I gotta beat Jefferson. Man, they see these contracts. They ain't talking about it, but they watching and seeing who getting what. Henderson's watching and seeing, damn, they paid T. Higgins. Damn, Gesicki. Damn, they showing up Samaji. They showing up money on the offensive side. I'm not arguably, I'm the third best player on this team. I'm the third best player on the team, and y'all ain't paid me. Some people might argue you'll go a premier defensive end before wide receiver, but Jamar Chase is that great. I'm going both Joe, Chase, Trey. Then they talking about older. Like I just said, he ain't missed games. He ain't missed no games within these last 2 years. Here's most recently, because those 2 videos I just showed y'all, Joe with Shannon on First Take, and Trey. Yeah, Joe on Shannon First Take, and Trey just did with Ross. Those are back in February. We here in June. We still talking about Trey Henderson contract. This is Trey more recently. You can tell it's frustrating, it's aggravating. He's getting this whole process has just been horrible. Here's Trey more recently, like a month ago, talking about this whole contract situation. Are you going to report from any mandatory minicamps? Are you going to play on this contract? Here you go.
Things that we're just not seeing eye to eye on the structure. It seems that a shorter deal is something that they are pushing pretty hard. That puts us in the same place I was in 2022, where I have to renegotiate the next year, because if goals are the same and playing at a better level than I did last year, then next year we're just kicking the can down the road. So it's something where I think both parties should understand that a long-term contract that guarantees that know that I can continue to play at the level that I have been is a mutual respect where that's where my values lie, and it also allows me to stop having to negotiate every offseason about something that has been almost 4 years of doing.
Trey, are you willing to sit out regular season games? You feel like if it came to that, something you feel like you might have to do to try to, if it came to that, you can willing to do that?
Well, I can raise a hypothetical with a hypothetical. I wouldn't be standing here with you if I got the deal in January, so to say I'm going to sit out or to say I'm not going to, what I can say is I'm very disappointed with the communication that's been had. It's very, former players have walked in these shoes, and what it foreshadows is not something that I'm excited about to tell my wife and family, like, hey, I'm getting good vibes or should be happy. Those comments stink, and that's what makes this place so special is that they watch me every day. They see how hard I work. There's no other organization knows me better than this one. They watch me an individual. They see how I carry myself as a human being, and they know me. So it stinks when the value somewhere else, because I was fortunate enough to have that trade request granted, whether it was 1, 2, 3 first-round picks, I had no idea. It gave me the fortunate circumstance to see my value elsewhere, and I'm hoping it doesn't come to that. And
So that video was about 2 minutes. So there was Trey. Like, damn, like I stated, y'all done seen what I did the last 2 seasons. Y'all see how I carry myself off the field, on the field. Y'all see the leader I am in the locker room. And for some reason, y'all don't want to give me a long-term contract. It could be the age, because he stated in that clip himself, they're trying to push for a shorter contract. Give Trey the long-term deal. If not, somebody else gonna give it to him. He gonna get traded and they're gonna give it to him. Like they Steelers did DK Metcalf. Traded for him and signed him. And I just want to play this short. Trey was asked straight out, are you gonna play on this contract? And listen to what he said.
In your mind, Trey, that you would play this year on your current contract and just play it out? Is that even something you would even consider? Is that
no? No.
Any way in your mind, Trey, that you would play this year on your current contract and just play it out? Is that even something you would even consider? Is that
no? No.
So Bengals got to get it done, man. It's becoming a distraction. It's becoming a distraction. And even Joe Burrow himself stated that it's a distraction for a team that has a hard time starting the beginning of the season like they need to. Joe be having injuries, can't be at training camp, mini camp, He even at practice. It's another off season of distractions of everything not being in place. It's another season. Here's Joe talking about, it's a distraction.
Trey not being here, his deal not done, is that a distraction?
Of course. Last year we had 2. This year we have 1, so we do have less. You'd love to have none, but that's life in the NFL. We're all supporting Trey and would love for him to be back.
Is Trey not?
So that's that on Trey Henderson. Bengals gonna bungle. Get the deal done. And looking into their draft class, they first round defensive end Shamar Stewart, second linebacker Demetrius Knight. Then when it got guard Dylan Fairchild, linebacker Barrett Carter, tackle Jalen Rivers, and running back Taj Brooks. I like their draft class. They got a defensive end, a linebacker, O-line, running back. if you can get everybody out there playing, and speaking of, if you can get everybody out there playing. And I was going to come on here and rip Shamar Stewart. I was going to say how entitled these guys are. I was going to say you ain't played one down in the NFL. I was going to come on here and tear his ass up. But I said, you know what? At some point, you got to stand up for yourself, man. Even if you only have 4.5 collegiate sacks in your career, at some point, you got to stand up for yourself. Because I learned, now we know what the language in the contract actually says. When I found that out, I'm like, oh, yeah. Now, I still believe he should be out there playing. Travis Hunter ain't signed his contract yet. I still believe he should be out there playing. But why I gotta be the guinea pig? The language is pretty much they're saying that they can void his guaranteed money. Other teams do it. The Bengals have never done it, and they've never done it to any other first-round pick. They want to try it out this year to Shamar. And y'all got to understand the sitting out, stuff like that. I also have to understand he has representation that's possibly advising him of these things also. Now, the people talking about you ain't going to work if you ain't getting paid, baby. NFL and the regular 9 to 5 ain't the same thing. I'm not with y'all on that. You got to prep for the season. Again, never played a down. That's still true. You ain't showed much production in your NFL in college. You couldn't finish. You even acknowledge that. You got to wrap up better. You need to be so. Bengals, just take the language out the contract. Take the language out the contract. But I'm going to play. Let me get it pulled back up. Because it's about 3 minutes. And Shamar pretty much kind of summed up or stated the problem, what's going on. Might come on and kind of pause it or check in because sometimes you too like to say copyright. But here's Shamar ripping the Bengals front office, saying what a lot of Bengals fans have been saying, and a lot of them are happy that someone's finally standing up to that Bengals front office. But here's Shamar kind of.
I really don't know. I actually have no idea. I really don't know.
What have you been doing to stay locked in? And you know, there's only so much that can replicate on the field reps, but what have you been doing to make sure that you're actually locked in when you're out there, knowing that you can't do anything?
I still go to meetings. I still study my playbook. You know, take down the right notes, and then whenever I get some free time, I go out to train at Black Sheep.
Is it fair to say at this point that you will not step foot on the practice field in practice until you're signed?
Yes.
How bad do you want to be on the field?
Very bad. I mean, I've been doing this for most of my whole life, and then all of a sudden it's gone over something very simple to fix. And it's kind of disappointing.
Have they given you any answers as to why they're choosing this year and you to set a new precedent?
If I really wanted to say, yeah, I can't say what I really want to say, but it's their contract. They can do what they want with it.
How important is it for you, do you think, from a player standpoint, to be on the field for training camp?
It's very important. I mean, like, you gotta get your body somewhat prepared to play football. Especially me coming from college to the NFL is a way physical game. Even though I play in SEC, which is very physical, but nothing compares to actually playing in the NFL. So I thought I'd be on the field by now. That's what I thought.
What are your representation, family, friends? Obviously, you've got to lean on a lot of people to kind of get through a difficult time like this. What have they been telling you to help you?
You know, just take it day by day. Pray to God. You know, He's always gonna stand with me, no matter what. And just know you're doing the right thing. Like some people say, we all agree Trey will be right, right? But technically, he's still 1% wrong for being under contract. So in my case, I'm 100% right. So it should be a no-brainer. And in Trey's case, I think it should be a no-brainer too. I mean, he led 17 and a half sacks for 2 years back to back. If I was the GM or I was the owner, take all my money. But I guess they don't operate like that. But
I gotta come on here so they don't copyright me. But guess they don't operate like that. Guess they don't operate like that. That's why I said I would have been got Trey done. That's just me though. I ain't the GM. I ain't no NFL GM. I ain't Duke Tobin. I would have been got that done. I mean, we got to hear this whole clip. About a minute left. But throughout these 3 minutes, he ripped him. And I was going to get on his ass for that. Like, bro, you a rookie. You ain't played. I say, you know what? Somebody, you got to stand up to these folk, man. Hey, bet on yourself. But let's finish it out. He got about a minute left. And then I'm going to give my final take.
Have you talked to Trey at all?
Talked to him the last time he was here, but other than that, no.
Has this experience soured your case for the Bengals?
I'm not gonna say that. I mean, I'm still new here. We still have a long future ahead of us.
What's your communication with Zach Taylor been like through this process?
We talk here and there.
Do you feel behind?
Mentally, no. Physically, kind of, sort of. Not really, though. I still work out. I feel like I'm still in good shape.
How do you make sure that you're ready to go when that time does come?
Oh, I'm always ready to go. I've been staying ready to go. I mean, it's my job now. I got no choice but to be ready to go.
Are you optimistic is the wrong word, but is it realistic that you could practice tomorrow if something gets done? I mean, is it that quick? Do you think it's going to be like a light switch?
Let's see. We got what? 20 hours? Let's see what happens.
So that was Shamar Stewart on the contract, the whole contract situation. And just everything that's been going on. I mean, he mentioned them not paying Trey. He lit into that. But the Bengals have massively fucked up the defensive side of the ball this offseason. Y'all go from being cheap to not even being cheap. You paid Chase, you paid Higgins, Gesicki, giving all these other guys extensions, but you're not signing the one defensive player, Trey Henderson, who's shown you since he's been there what he can do. You have not gotten just some language shit in Shamar Stewart's contract, the rookie defensive end you drafted to potentially replace Trey Henderson, and you somehow managed to screw that up. What is going on with the Bengals front office? Now, again, Shamar, I still think you should be out there. Like I stated, Travis Hunter ain't signed his contract yet. Bro, you had 4.5 collegiate career sacks. Get around NFL coaches, your players. Get accustomed to the speed of the game. Get in the playbook. I'm an athlete myself. It's one thing to watch film and study, but you got to take that shit and apply it to the field. You have not done that. But then I can throw it back into the Bengals and say all because of some language, all because of language that y'all have never done. The Bengals, like again, it's come out. Other teams do it. The Bengals have never done it. This is the first time they're trying to do it. They're trying to make Shamar Stewart the guinea pig. And he has the leverage because I've seen he can go back into the draft. If he don't sign, he can go back into the draft. So now you possibly won't have Shamar nor Trey Henderson. Or you might end up getting Trey locked up, but you're still going to be back at square one because it's pretty much the same defense along the line. You got a new DC. He's not even really able to be on the field with these guys in capacity of putting the playbook the techniques together on the field. He's not able to do that because the front office fucking up. The Bengals are gonna bungle. And all that, sign and chase. You did this, you sign chase, you sign Higgins. I don't give a fuck about none of that. The Bengals, I'm giving a off-season grade an F. If I'm Shamar Stewart, I wouldn't even want to. If I do end up signing, bro, after these 4, I'm done. I'm telling my representative, I'm done. I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back. I see how they treat defensive players. If I end up having some semblance of a career that Trey has had, if I develop, get better, and I become a premier defensive end in this league, they're not gonna pay me. By that time, Chase gonna be up for another. Burrow gonna be up for another contract. Some other rookie you done drafted within this time probably gonna be elite. They gonna be up for a contract. But all that, the Bengals deserve an F off-season grade because this is shit that should have been done in the same old Bengals. But that's it. That's all. Thank y'all for watching and tuning in to the All Things Life and Sports show with Colin Thomas. That's me. I'm your host, Colin Thomas. We'll be back. Y'all, I'm gonna get more consistent, man. I'm gonna get more consistent. I say, you know what? I gotta punt this out. I gotta punt these out. I'm gonna be more consistent. Look out this weekend for a mastery podcast and make sure everything done before you try to have fun. Peace.